Commander Sarah Chen stared at the streams of data flowing across her quantum terminal's holographic display, her coffee long forgotten. After 15 years working in signals intelligence, she thought she'd seen everything. But this was different. "Dr. Martinez," she called out, her voice steady despite her racing heart. "I need you to verify something for me." The theoretical economist looked up from his own workstation in the crowded underground facility that housed Earth's newly formed Extraterrestrial Communications Analysis Division, ECAT. "What have you found, Commander?" Sarah manipulated the holographic display, expanding a particular data stream she'd isolated from the background noise of space. "Tell me what you see in these patterns." Dr. Martinez adjusted his glasses, dark eyes scanning the numbers. His expression shifted from professional interest to disbelief. "These are market transactions." But the scale. He trailed off, fingers flying across his interface as he ran calculations. "If I'm converting these units correctly, we're looking at exchanges worth the GDP of entire solar systems." "Look at the timestamp patterns," Sarah prompted, highlighting a series of recurring signals. "They spike every time they pass through our sector." Martinez's face paled. "They're discussing purchase prices." "Commander, I think they're talking about buying Earth." The revelation sent a chill through the room. Sarah had suspected as much, but hearing it confirmed made it real. Humanity had spent centuries wondering if they were alone in the universe, hoping first contact would bring enlightenment and advancement. Instead, they'd discovered they were being treated like real estate. "Get me a secure line to Admiral Wong," Sarah ordered, her mind already racing through implications. "And someone wake up Dr. Patterson in xenolinguistics. We need to understand exactly what kind of transaction they're planning." Within hours, ECAD's basement facility transformed into a hub of frantic activity. Dr. Patterson's team worked to decode more of the alien communications, while Martinez's economists tried to understand the galactic market systems they were glimpsing. The picture that emerged was both fascinating and terrifying. "They call themselves the Mercantile Confederation," Dr. Patterson explained to the emergency briefing 12 hours later. The room was packed with military brass and civilian experts, all looking equally unsettled. "They're an alliance of trading species who treat planetary development as an investment opportunity. They identify promising pre-FTL civilizations, purchase their systems, and then develop them according to Confederation standards." Admiral James Wong, a veteran of 3 wars who'd never imagined fighting one against alien capitalism, leaned forward. "Purchase from whom?" "That's the interesting part," Sarah cut in, bringing up a new data visualization. "They have a complex system of claiming and trading development rights to star systems. Earth was apparently claimed by a species called the Vex about 300 years ago, when they first detected our radio signals. Now they're preparing to exercise those rights, since we're approaching their threshold for development." "And what happens to species who refuse to be developed?" someone asked from the back of the room. Dr. Patterson's expression was grim. "There are no records of refusal in any of the communications we intercepted. The Confederation's standard procedure is to present themselves as benefactors offering advanced technology and membership in their civilization. By the time a species realizes they've effectively sold themselves into economic servitude, it's too late." "How long do we have?" Wong asked. Sarah pulled up another data stream. Based on their communication patterns, they're planning their official first contact within the next 6 months. They're already positioning their assets for what they call the acquisition phase. The room erupted in worried murmurs, but Sarah wasn't finished. "However," she continued, raising her voice slightly, "there's something they don't know. Something that changes everything." All eyes turned back to her as she manipulated the holographic display one more time. "They think we're just starting to achieve basic spaceflight. They have no idea we've already cracked their commercial encryption. They don't know we can read their markets." A slow smile spread across Admiral Wong's face as he caught her meaning. "And if we can read their markets, we can manipulate them," Dr. Martinez finished, excitement replacing fear in his voice. "Commander Chen, are you suggesting what I think you're suggesting?" Sarah nodded, allowing herself a small smile. "If the Mercantile Confederation wants to treat Earth like a commodity, I say we show them just how disruptive humans can be to their precious market stability. Admiral Wong, with your permission, I'd like to present a proposal, Operation Market Crash." The Admiral gestured for her to continue, and Sarah began outlining her plan. As she spoke, the mood in the room shifted from despair to determined hope. They might be outgunned and less advanced, but if there was one thing humans understood, it was how to cause chaos in financial markets. The Mercantile Confederation thought they were about to acquire a primitive species ripe for development. Instead, they were about to learn an expensive lesson about underestimating humanity. After all, Sarah thought as she detailed the next phase of her plan, humans have been practicing economic warfare on each other for millennia. The game was about to begin, and Earth was playing to win. Trade Administrator Vextel's chromatic scales rippled with distress as he studied the market projections floating before him. Something was wrong with the Earth acquisition, but he couldn't quite identify what. The numbers shouldn't be moving this way. "Analyst Kurina," he called to his assistant, "bring up the resource surveys from the last solar cycle." The holographic displays in his private chamber aboard the Confederation's flagship trading vessel shifted, showing Earth's steadily increasing development indicators over the past century. Everything had been proceeding exactly as projected until 3 months ago. Then the anomalies began. "Look at this," Kurina said, her crystalline form refracting light in patterns that indicated confusion. "Their atmospheric carbon levels are dropping sharply. That's not consistent with any pre-contact civilization we've encountered." Vextel's scales shifted to a deeper shade of worry. The Confederation's entire acquisition model was based on predictable patterns of industrial development. Species approaching first contact always followed the same trajectory: increasing energy consumption, atmospheric pollution, and resource depletion. These indicators made developing worlds valuable investments, but Earth's numbers were moving in the wrong direction. Meanwhile, in ECAD's underground facility, Commander Sarah Chen allowed herself a small smile as she watched the alien markets react to humanity's carefully orchestrated show. "The Carbon Reduction Initiative is working," Dr. Martins reported, examining the market data streams. "Confederation trading algorithms are marking down Earth's projected development value by 12% already." "What about Operation Brownout?" Sarah asked, turning to another screen showing power consumption data. Lieutenant Jessica Rodriguez, their infrastructure coordinator, gave a thumbs up. "Rolling blackouts are being implemented across all major cities according to schedule. As far as their sensors can tell, Earth's energy consumption has dropped by 30% in the past month. And the best part," Dr. Patterson added from his station, "is that their analysts are tying themselves in knots trying to explain it. Look at this communication I just intercepted." He played a translated excerpt of alien market analysis. Subject: civilization showing unprecedented regression in development indicators. Possible explanations include natural disaster, plague, or catastrophic technological failure. Recommend reevaluation of acquisition timeline. Sarah nodded in satisfaction. Phase 1 of Operation Market Crash was proceeding perfectly. Make Earth look like a failing investment, and do it in a way that appeared completely natural to outside observers. The fact that most of the changes were just clever manipulations of data and temporary measures made it even better. They were tanking their own property value without actually damaging anything. Back on the Confederation vessel, Vextel was facing the most difficult moment of his 3-century career. He had to report to the High Chamber of Commerce, and his news wasn't good. "Honored traders," he began, his scales automatically shifting to formal presentation patterns, "I regret to inform you that the Earth acquisition project requires significant revaluation." The chamber's crystalline walls reflected the displeasure of the assembled traders. Earth had been considered one of the most promising investments in that sector of space. Its civilization had been progressing perfectly along the standard development curve. "Explain," demanded Chief Trader Moxbar, her energy form pulsing with barely contained irritation. Vextol projected the latest data. The civilization appears to be experiencing an unprecedented technological regression. Energy consumption is plummeting, industrial output is decreasing, and their primitive information networks show increasing instability. "Could this be a natural disaster?" another trader asked. "No evidence of geological or meteorological anomalies," Vextol replied. "It's as if they're deliberately becoming less advanced." The notion was so absurd that several traders released bursts of incredulous light patterns. Pre-contact civilizations never regressed voluntarily. It was one of the fundamental principles of galactic economics. "There's more," Vextol continued reluctantly. "Our initial investment in development rights is showing negative returns. If this trend continues, we may need to consider abandoning the acquisition entirely." The chamber erupted in chaos. Abandoning an acquisition was unprecedented, but so was everything else about this situation. As the traders argued, none of them suspected they were playing exactly into humanity's hands. In her office, Sarah received word that the Confederation's Earth Development Fund had just lost 40% of its value. She immediately called an emergency meeting of the Operation Market Crash team. "They're reacting exactly as predicted," she announced to the assembled group. "Now it's time for Phase 2. Dr. Martinez, are you ready to begin introducing those subtle irregularities into their trading algorithms?" The economist nodded, a mischievous glint in his eye. "Ready and waiting, Commander. By the time they realize what's happening, their entire risk assessment model for Earth will be compromised." Lieutenant Rodriguez, maintain the energy reduction protocols for another week, then begin the stage recovery exactly as planned. Let's show them just enough improvement to keep them interested, but not enough to restore their confidence. As her team dispersed to their stations, Sarah allowed herself a moment of satisfaction. The Confederation thought they were dealing with a primitive civilization in decline, not realizing that every piece of data they were seeing was being carefully manipulated to tell exactly the story humanity wanted them to believe. In his chambers, Vextol stared at the latest projections with growing unease. Something about this situation felt wrong, but he couldn't quite put his appendage on what it was. If he had been familiar with human expressions, he might have recognized the feeling for what it was, the sensation of being played. The message that rocked the Mercantile Confederation arrived during peak trading hours. Every market display across their vast network suddenly displayed the same text, translated into perfect trading standard. To the esteemed members of the Mercantile Confederation, your Earth investment portfolio is about to experience significant volatility. We recommend immediate diversification of assets. Regards, humanity. In his private chamber, Vextol's scales turned pure white, the color of absolute shock. The message had been sent through their most secure trading channels, using encryption protocols that supposedly no pre-FTL civilization could possibly understand, let alone breach. "Impossible," he whispered, but the proof was already unfolding across his displays. Earth's market indicators, which had been showing a steady decline for months, suddenly began moving in precise, deliberate patterns. Not random fluctuations, but a clear message spelled out in the universal language of market dynamics. They understood. They had always understood. Meanwhile, in ECAD's command center, Sarah Chen watched the chaos unfold with calculated satisfaction. "Execute Operation Leverage," she ordered. "All teams proceed as planned." Dr. Martinez's fingers flew across his holographic interface, initiating targeted disruption of their commodity futures markets. Now, across the galaxy, the Confederation's carefully balanced trading systems began to buckle. Seemingly random commodities, from rare earth metals to specialized biomatter, experienced inexplicable price fluctuations, but it wasn't random at all. Each affected commodity had one thing in common. Earth was listed as a potential future source in the Confederation's development projections. "Lieutenant Rodriguez," Sarah called out, "begin Phase 2. The infrastructure specialist nodded, initiating a sequence they'd spent months preparing. All across Earth, carefully hidden technological achievements began coming online. Quantum computation centers emerged from their camouflage. Advanced energy installations dropped their disguising signatures. Orbital platforms decloaked. In the high chamber of commerce, pandemonium reigned. Chief Trader Moxbar struggled to maintain order as market projections spiraled into chaos. "How is this possible?" she demanded, her energy form flickering erratically. They were supposed to be pre-FTL primitives. Honored traders, Vextal addressed the chamber, his scales now a deep blue of grave concern. "I believe we have severely miscalculated. The humans haven't been failing. They've been deceiving us. Every market indicator we've been tracking for the past 3 months has been deliberately manipulated." A new message appeared on their screens. "Your development rights to Earth, purchased 3 centuries ago for the equivalent of 50,000 credits, are now worth approximately 3 trillion credits in your current market. However, we project this value will drop to 0 within the next 6 trading cycles. Would you like to discuss terms?" Admiral Wong smiled as he watched the message being transmitted. "Remind me never to play poker with you, Commander Chen." Sarah allowed herself a small grin. "The best part is, sir, we're not bluffing. Dr. Martinez, show them what happens if they don't respond within 1 trading cycle." The economist initiated a carefully prepared sequence of trades. Instantly, the value of 3 major Confederation trading houses dropped by 15%. A warning shot, demonstrating exactly how much damage humanity could do to their economy. "Message incoming," Dr. Patterson announced. "High priority channel." The response was brief. "Terms acceptable. Confederation representatives request immediate discussion." But Sarah wasn't done yet. "Send our reply, standard encryption. Before negotiations begin, we should discuss the other 32 civilizations currently under your development programs. We have extensive documentation of your acquisition practices that several galactic councils might find interesting." This time, the response came even faster. Full diplomatic status offered. Humanity recognized as sovereign trading power. Request immediate cessation of market activities. In his chamber, Vextal finally understood the full magnitude of their mistake. They had encountered something unprecedented. A species that had developed not just technology, but a profound understanding of economic warfare. The humans hadn't just learned to decode their transmissions. They had learned to weaponize the Confederation's own markets against them. Analysis complete, Kirina reported, her crystalline form dulled with worry. "The humans have acquired controlling interests in 17 of our subsidiary trading operations. They've been using our own investment algorithms against us, executing trades so subtle our systems mark them as normal market fluctuations." "How long?" Vextal asked. "Based on transaction timestamps, they've been infiltrating our markets for at least 6 standard cycles. Every time we adjusted our algorithms to account for Earth's apparent decline, we were actually giving them more control." Sarah reviewed the incoming data with her team. The Confederation's entire economic model was based on acquiring and developing pre-FTL civilizations. Now that model was about to change forever. Humanity had just proven they couldn't be bought, but they could certainly do some buying of their own. "Dr. Martinez," she called out, "prepare our settlement terms. I think it's time to negotiate humanity's entry into galactic economics on our terms." As her team worked, Sarah reflected on how far they'd come. The Confederation had thought they were acquiring a primitive civilization. Instead, they discovered that humanity's greatest weapon wasn't their technology or their military might. It was their understanding of the one thing the Confederation held most sacred, the market itself. The Grand Chamber of Commerce aboard the Confederation's flagship had never hosted negotiations quite like these. On one side of the crystalline table sat the Confederation's most senior traders, their various forms, crystalline, energy, and biomorphic, arranged in traditional trading hierarchies. On the other side sat just 3 humans, Admiral Wong, Commander Chen, and Dr. Martinez. The disparity in numbers was deliberate. Sarah had insisted on it, knowing the psychological impact it would have. Every empty chair on their side of the table screamed confidence. Let us begin. Chief Trader Muxpar's energy form, pulsed with carefully controlled frequencies. Humanity has demonstrated unexpected capabilities. The Confederation is prepared to offer full diplomatic recognition and— No, Admiral Wong interrupted calmly. The single word sent ripples of distress through the assembled traders. In their culture, interrupting a chief trader was unthinkable. We're not here to receive offers, Sarah continued, laying a data crystal on the table. We're here to present terms. The crystal projected a holographic display showing the complex web of Confederation trading networks, with key nodes highlighted in red. Every highlighted point represented a vulnerability that humanity had discovered and could exploit. Impossible, breathed Vextal, his scales shifting through patterns of disbelief. These are our most secure trading protocols. Were your most secure trading protocols? Dr. Martins corrected. Did you really think Earth's apparent technological regression was natural? We needed you to underestimate us. Every time you adjusted your algorithms to account for our decline, you gave us another way in. Back on Earth, Lieutenant Rodriguez coordinated with her team in ECAD's command center, watching the negotiation through encrypted feeds. They were ready to execute any one of 30 different market operations at a moment's notice, each designed to target specific vulnerabilities in the Confederation's trading empire. As a show of good faith, Sarah continued, we've prepared a demonstration. She nodded to Rodriguez through their secure link. Instantly, the value of luxury crystalline commodities, the backbone of 3 major trading houses, dropped by 30%. The Confederation representatives erupted in chaos, their forms flickering and shifting in patterns of panic. That was 0.03% of our current market capability, Admiral Wong stated calmly. Shall we discuss those terms now? Muxpar's energy form stabilized with visible effort. Present your terms. Sarah activated another holographic display. First, the Confederation will immediately abandon its practice of purchasing development rights to pre-FTL civilizations. All current development contracts will be reviewed by an independent Galactic Council. This is outrageous. A crystalline trader shattered in protest. The development program is the foundation of our economic model. Your economic model, Dr. Martins replied, is about to change. Consider this a market disruption. Adapt or collapse. Isn't that the first principle of Confederation trading? Sarah continued. Second, Earth will be recognized as a sovereign trading power with full rights to establish independent economic relationships with any civilization. Third, the Confederation will provide full access to its trading networks and technological databases, not as payment, but as part of a new partnership agreement. And what, Vextal asked carefully, does Earth offer in return? Admiral Wong smiled. We won't dismantle your entire trading empire. Additionally, we'll offer something you've never had before: innovation. Your economic models have stagnated because you only develop civilizations according to your predetermined patterns. We're offering new perspectives, new approaches. In ECAD's command center, Rodriguez watched market indicators flicker as the Confederation representatives considered their options. Human analysts had spent months studying their decision-making patterns. They knew exactly how much pressure to apply. There's more, Sarah added, activating a final holographic display. This one showed trading data from civilizations beyond the Confederation's sphere of influence. We've already made contact with the Orion Cooperative and the Cygnus Trading Alliance. They're very interested in establishing new trading relationships, especially with a civilization that managed to outmaneuver the Confederation. This revelation sent new waves of distress through the alien representatives. The Confederation's monopoly on developing civilizations had kept them dominant in their sector of space. The threat of competition was more persuasive than any amount of market manipulation. Time-sensitive offer, Admiral Wong stated, rising from his chair. You have 3 standard cycles to accept. After that, we start broadcasting evidence of your predatory development practices to every trading power in the sector. I understand the Orion Cooperative has particularly strong views about economic exploitation. Muxpar's energy form pulsed rapidly, their equivalent of rapid, intense calculation. The terms are acceptable in principle. We will require time to adjust our trading protocols and— You have 3 hours, Sarah interrupted. Earth hours. We've noticed your tendency to manipulate time measurements in negotiations. That's no longer an option. In ECAD's command center, Rodriguez couldn't help but smile as she watched the aliens' reactions. They were used to dealing with civilizations that could be overwhelmed with technology, bought with promises, or simply confused into submission. Instead, they'd found humans, masters of turning other systems against them. The negotiations continued, but the outcome was never in doubt. Humanity had leveraged every lesson learned from centuries of their own economic conflicts. They had turned the Confederation's greatest strength, their complex trading networks, into their greatest vulnerability. As the final terms were being drafted, Vextel approached Sarah privately. "There's one thing we don't understand," he admitted, his scales showing genuine curiosity. "How did you know our development program existed before we made contact?" Sarah allowed herself a small smile. "We didn't, but we know ourselves. Throughout human history, someone has always tried to buy and sell what isn't theirs to trade. We planned for the worst and hoped for the best. It's what humans do." The implications of this sent Vextel's scales shifting through colors that had no translation in human languages. They hadn't just underestimated humanity's current capabilities, they had fundamentally misunderstood their potential for adaptation and growth. The age of simple acquisitions was over. A new era of galactic trade was about to begin. One standard galactic year after the negotiations, Commander Sarah Chen stood at the observation deck of humanity's first interstellar trading outpost, watching ships from a dozen different civilizations dock and depart. The massive structure, positioned at the edge of the solar system, represented everything they had fought for: independence, recognition, and the right to forge their own path among the stars. "Quite a view, isn't it?" Admiral Wong joined her at the window, his dress uniform adorned with the newly created insignia of Earth's diplomatic trading court. "Hard to believe it's only been a year since we turned their own market against them." Sarah nodded, watching as a crystalline vessel from the Orion Cooperative exchanged docking protocols with a Confederation trading ship. "They're actually competing fairly now. I never thought I'd see it." Latest report from Dr. Martinez. The Admiral handed her a data tablet. "The reforms we forced on the Confederation have led to a 300% increase in independent trading relationships across the sector. Turns out a lot of civilizations were waiting for someone to break their monopoly." The tablet displayed statistics that would have been unthinkable a year ago. 17 previously developing worlds had negotiated their independence using Earth's precedent. The Confederation, forced to abandon their predatory practices, had actually seen their legitimate trading volume increase as new partners entered the market willingly. In ECAD's command center, now expanded into a massive complex coordinating Earth's galactic trading operations, Lieutenant Rodriguez was conducting a very different kind of briefing. Representatives from 3 former Confederation development projects watched intently as she explained how humanity had detected and decoded the alien trading networks. The key was recognizing patterns, she explained, showing holographic displays of market data. "Every economy, no matter how advanced, leaves traces. Once you know what to look for, you can't be fooled by technological superiority." Dr. Patterson, monitoring translations for the briefing, couldn't help but smile at the aliens' reactions. They had come to Earth expecting to learn about resistance. Instead, they were learning about cooperation and mutual defense. Earth had become something unprecedented, a protector of emerging civilizations' economic rights. Aboard the Confederation flagship, now permanently stationed near Earth as part of the new trading agreements, Vextel reviewed the latest market projections with a very different perspective than he'd had a year ago. His scales shifted through patterns of thoughtful analysis as he studied the data. Remarkable, he commented to Karuna, who had become Earth's primary trading liaison. Their model of voluntary partnership actually generates more sustainable growth than our old development program. Karuna's crystalline form sparkled with agreement. They understood something we had forgotten. True value comes from innovation and collaboration, not control. Look at these new trading algorithms they've developed. The display showed complex market patterns that would have been impossible under the old system. Earth's influence had introduced chaos into what had been a rigidly controlled economy, but from that chaos had emerged something stronger and more dynamic. Back on the trading outpost, Sarah received an urgent communication from Dr. Martinez. "Commander, you need to see this. We've detected new signal patterns at the edge of explored space." Sarah reviewed the data and felt a familiar excitement building. The patterns were similar to what they'd first detected from the Confederation, but with crucial differences. Another trading alliance. "We think so," Martinez confirmed. "And based on their encryption protocols, they might make the Confederation look primitive in comparison. Want to start planning how we'll introduce ourselves?" Sarah smiled. This was why humanity had fought so hard for independence, not just to resist being controlled, but to explore and engage with the galaxy on their own terms. Set up a strategy meeting. Let's show them what real trading partners look like. Admiral Wong reviewed the preliminary data with interest. "You know, a year ago, we were fighting to avoid being property. Now we're preparing to help negotiate fair trade agreements between multiple galactic powers." "That's the thing about humans," Sarah replied, watching as another ship docked at the outpost. "We never just survive. We thrive, and we bring others with us." In the vast trading halls below them, humans worked alongside beings of crystal, energy, and forms barely comprehensible to Earth science. They traded goods, information, and ideas. The Confederation had wanted to buy Earth's potential. Instead, humanity had shown them what that potential truly meant. Dr. Patterson's latest cultural analysis summed it up perfectly. In attempting to acquire humanity as an asset, the Confederation inadvertently released something far more valuable into the galactic community: hope. Hope that technological superiority doesn't have to mean domination. Hope that cooperation can be more profitable than control. Hope that every civilization, no matter how young, deserves the chance to forge its own path among the stars. As Sarah prepared for another day of trading negotiations and diplomatic meetings, she reflected on how far they'd come. Earth had transformed from a potential acquisition into a beacon for change, proving that the price of freedom wasn't just about resistance, it was about showing a better way forward. The galaxy was changing, trade by trade, deal by deal, relationship by relationship, and humanity, the civilization that had refused to be bought, was leading the way into a new era of galactic commerce. Not as property, but as partners. Not as developed, but as developers. Not as controlled, but as free.